think it's, this is a 1920 picture of Main Street. The buildings involved are the Masonic Lodge, which then became William Savage's barber shop and candy shop, and Morris Chamberlain's garage and gas station. And that was Morris Chamberlain's for years and years and years. And on the other side of the road, you can't see any of them. But this is back when the street was narrow, because I think it's like a 1920s automobile in there. And if you want the story about Morris Chamberlain at this point in time, I can give you that. Morris Chamberlain was a machinist by trade, but he also was an aerial car dealer for Ford Motor Company. And that was when Model Ts were sent in a box. And he got into an argument with Henry Ford over something to do with the pricing and how they charged for the cars. And I think at that point in time, you bought I knew a Model T was like $600. And he got mad and he wouldn't sell them. He gave up the industry, and there were two cars still in the boxes when he died. And all through his life, he ran his machine shop. He had 5 or 6 different machines there, along with, he hired Chris Christensen to run the gas station, and he used to change oil. Then that was a Sunoco station. And deviating from that for just a moment, the gas pump out front was one you pumped by hand, and the gas went up in the tower and then ran down when you opened the gauge. And well, not when Chris ran it, and then he ran it for years, and then when he got, Morris died, he got a chance to run Shell Station, which they built for him. But he was a great man, because we used to go in, my father, I'd go in with him, and he would need, because back then plumbers and heating people did things with all kinds of material that they got from hand. And he'd say, my father would say, Morris, I need a piece of pipe, or I need a piece of metal thus by thus. And Morris would tip his cap, scratch his head, and say, try looking over on the far side by the number 2 machine underneath. And sure enough, you would go over there, go underneath the machine, dig around, and you would come up with a piece of whatever you were looking for. He knew where everything was in that shop. It was amazing. But the fight he had with Ford, he never did sell those 2 cars. And he had trucks all over the place. He had alongside of the building, which you can't really see here. It looks like it's an open lot, but that was full of used cars that they were just sitting there. And down in the back, underneath the building, was more garages. In the back was more garages, and then there was a big 2-story barn, and the bottom of that was more cars. And then out in the field in front of it was more cars. We used to play there in the cars and whatnot. And one of the fellows I played with, his loved to get behind and be the driver. And his idea was speared, which was to go brrrr, and as fast as you could turn the ceiling wheel from right to left made you go faster. And then we're almost there and whatnot. And this is how we passed our time of day. And in the middle of that field was a huge cherry tree that was probably 60 or 70 feet tall. And we used to climb that cherry tree to get the black cherries and whatnot. Nobody fell out of that one, but we also had a cherry tree across from our property. And it was also, and I climbed that one day by myself when I got the cherries, because of course the finest cherries were always at the very top. The branch that I was standing on fell, and I went through the whole tree, branch by branch, forward and breaking, and landed on a pile of brush underneath the tree. Didn't climb the tree from that point on. But it was very interesting with this man with his cars, because he didn't sell them, and they sold them at auction when he died, and that distributed all the stuff. But he was a great man. He lived across the street from there. A little bit of where you can sell would be Skellinger's store. That was just a little grocery store. It used to be there.